Are we good? Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of ricklerants. This week I have 3 new topics for you. We will be talking about meme culture, specifically the 6'7" meme trend. Then we'll go a little bit heavier and talk about my own challenges with weight and how it's so important to know and love your body. And finally I'll be ending on a couple of topics I've recently been humbled about. I thought I was woke and I thought I knew everything, but I've been challenged in these 2 areas. So strap in, I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side.
Bruh.
It tickled me. Ever since I was younger, I have always been a fan of comedy. It's strange when you're little how you're not really consciously choosing what you like, you just like stuff. And for me, I really resonated with the genie in Aladdin, the muses in Hercules. So when the internet started to develop and YouTube came out in the mid-2000s, I loved all the comedic content. Then we had Vine, which was the early iteration of what we now know as TikTok. I consumed hours and hours of my life on Vine, fascinated by the individual artists that would do incredible skits or really clever loops. It never ever felt like brain rot to me. And as we've moved into TikTok, that's just compounded, and it's one of those apps that for me is a great way to connect with the world, and the way that you connect with the world quite often is through trends or through memes, through ideas that log into people's brains and create chains of creativity for musicians, for artists, for comedians. So when 6'7" came around last year, to me, I clocked it for what it was. It was an example of the types of memes that are growing in popularity that come under the brain rot category. And it's almost like you're repeating stuff mindlessly and there's no real meaning behind it. And 6'7" really is a great example of that. It comes from originally from a rap song, but then just a young kid started doing it on the side of a basketball court, and suddenly it became a worldwide phenomenon. When you read the comments under the original YouTube video of the 6'7" kid, there's a lot of adults that just think this whole thing is really stupid. And I am standing here as a 35-year-old, and genuinely I got so much joy out of the 6'7" meme. And maybe I am brain rotted, but to me, 6'7" is a great example of how not everything has to make sense. If you have a joke that is just purely funny in and of itself, it's like an anarchical message. It's like saying, we're just gonna laugh at whatever we want. We're silly human beings. We connect through daftness and levity and joy. And I think that message is actually really quite, way more important than people give it credit for. One of my favorite ever 6'7" videos is one of those river boats that go through Paris, and there's people standing on the edge of the Seine, and they do the 6'7", and the whole riverboat does it back. It's like, hey, I'm stupid and you're stupid and let's be stupid together. And I love that. That really resonates with why I love comedy, because it's a connector, and it's just something that doesn't even make sense as to why would we have comedy? Why would we make each other laugh other than just for pure joy and connection? For this section of ricklerants, I just want to put a little bit of a warning that I am going to be talking about weight, diet culture, feminism, and it might be that that's a little bit triggering for you, but I encourage you to stick around because I'm going to be speaking as if I'm speaking to myself, really. Everything I say will be to my younger self, will be to myself now, about what I wish I knew or what I really want to reiterate in my head about my body and my looks. And so it's not going to be a rehashing of like horrible histories or anything. It's just an overview of how I want to look at weight from now on, really. As I'm recording this right now, and as I'm watching this back on my computer and editing it, it's taking a huge amount of effort not to critically analyze the way I look. Mostly critically analyze my weight, but also the clothes I've decided to wear, the way I've worn my makeup and my hair. There's a lot of self-criticism all the time when you put yourself out there publicly. And I think it's easy to kind of look around and look at other people and think, oh, well, they seem to have the right clothes, the right hair, the right makeup, the right body size, and that's why they are successful. And it must be my own personal lack that's causing me to not be where I need to be. I think it's just so interesting how much of a mental activity this is. Because when I think about what my body actually does for me and what it's doing right now, it's regulating my temperature, it's regulating my blood sugar, it's helping me breathe, it's helping me express myself, and there isn't really a right or wrong in that. It's a bit like the trees or the rivers. It's just working, you know, it's the magic of the universe. And it's only when you add a layer of mental analysis onto that you get an element of right or wrong. These days in celebrity culture, you see a lot of very, very thin people. And I don't want to digress too much into what people do with their bodies, because there is an element of it's your life, it's your choice. But all I can say is my own experience. And when I see these women in these very thin bodies, I experience a lot of discomfort. And it's my own triggers that come up, right? So the first thing I experience is like a strange form of worry/jealousy. I see how their thinness is kind of revered as something that they should be proud of in the general culture. Women are told to be thin all the time. We are never ever small enough in terms of beauty standards. And there's a lot of research and a lot of philosophical and theoretical discussions about why that might be when you live under patriarchy. If a woman is small, weak, not eating very much, they will not be able to function particularly well. And I think that keeps women in a place of subservience, which is something that is a strange thing to get your head round, because if you're thin, you will be accepted and sort of praised, but it's not in your interest as an individual human being to feel that weak. And how do I know that we're fighting against our own interests? Well, I want to take you back just briefly to a time when I was in my early 20s. I was working in London. I was really stressed out. I had always worked very stressful jobs with crazy hours. The city was a lot for me. I needed a lot of rest, and I wasn't really getting that rest. And so my health started to break down. I started to develop quite bad stomach problems and anxiety. And I went to a nutritionist, and she helped me try and support my diet a bit better. Now, looking back, I'm not sure if this was the best thing to do, because really what I needed to do was change my lifestyle, the way I was living in terms of my stress levels. But back then, I just put the two and two together. I had a sore stomach, so I went to the nutritionist. And I was put on a diet that was very healthy, but it was very restrictive. And it activated a bit of a switch in my brain, which I think had always been there, which started to get a little bit controlling with my food. So I became much thinner than I am now. I was never dangerously thin, but I was thin. And I look back at that time and I remember it in a very different way to what I am kind of promised I'm going to feel when I'm thin. I had this strange thing happen mentally where even when I was thin, I never felt thin. Even when I was fitting into size 10 clothing, which isn't really not my natural body size. I come from a line of women who are just lean more on the softer, hold fat on their stomach side of life. In spite of that, I didn't even feel thin. I was being told by people that I had lost weight. I was being told by people, oh well, now you can wear whatever you like. And yet I just didn't feel good. it's like there genuinely is a mental health element to this, where you start to get body dysmorphia. You start not to really perceive yourself properly. It's like there's an internal discomfort that just cannot be shifted no matter what weight you have. Women are often promised this kind of ideal life in a way if they are thin. It's like it becomes a key to living a quote-unquote normal and successful life. And if you are any way outside of that body type, it's almost like you're letting yourself down. But if I am speaking to myself and I see these things and I look at the way that these lifestyles are sold to me, and then I remember how ill I felt when I was thin, how weak I felt, how sad I was, how everything was just so stressful because I had to control every aspect of what I was eating. It quite simply doesn't feel in alignment with how my body wants to treat me, which is to heal me. You can force yourself to be a certain way, but it won't really change your reality, at least not in my experience. It might change the way you're treated, but it won't change the way you feel. And really the way you feel is all that matters. You have to develop a self-love practice that tries not to be so heavily controlled by looks and by weight. Leave that behind. Recognize it for what it is, because really what it is it's a system and a marketing strategy that encourages you to buy things. It wants you to be small, it wants you to be weak, it wants you to be tired. It doesn't want you to be speaking up about things. It doesn't want you to be confident, because then, it challenges all the systems that are set up. So if I could say one final thing to myself right now, it would be to concentrate on feeling really good. And whatever your body looks like when you feel good is enough. So yes, that's the slightly heavier topic of this video, and now we will move on to some hubris. I like you, but my body isn't ready. I want you, but the mirror won't let me. Finally, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I've realised recently that have humbled me. I try my best to be informed. I might even call myself woke, but sometimes I get it wrong, and sometimes things are, as the meme says, a little bit more complicated. The first topic I want to talk about is the British TV presenter Jeremy Clarkson. If you've been reading the news lately or watching Jeremy's show on Amazon called Clarkson's Farm, then you will know that he's been diagnosed with cancer. Clarkson to me is a very controversial figure. I've always found him quite clickbaity in the way that he behaves. When he was on Top Gear, he was constantly fighting with producers about the often racist, homophobic, offensive things and jokes that he would come out with. And since he's left Top Gear, often the articles he writes for newspapers are kind of purposely inflammatory. He once said that Meghan Markle should be paraded through the streets naked, and he said that public workers who strike should be shot because they have great pensions and they're just wasting everyone's time. So he's one of these guys who has a reputation for saying what he thinks and not really caring about the consequences. And I've always found him a little bit tiring and a little bit irresponsible for that reason. However, I cannot fault him for being funny. On Top Gear, he is so entertaining. And if you watch Clarkson's Farm, it is absolutely fantastic TV. He is hilarious. There's so many brilliant and memorable characters that are on it with him. And to give the guy credit, he could have taken the money he's earned as a presenter and just lived on it. But he's decided to give farming a go, and he's put a spotlight on what that's really like. And I think he's informed me and other people in the UK of how challenging that is. And that's really admirable. So when I heard that he was ill, it created this strange conflict in me, because I've been watching his show and enjoying it so much and feeling like, you know what? there's a lot about this that I didn't know about. I have been close-minded to the struggles of the farming community, and it would be awful if something happened to him. It'd be sad if we lost this show, if we lost this entertainer in British culture. So it really like threw me for a loop, that feeling, and I suppose it just taught me that even if you find people annoying, and even if they are in many ways negative members of culture, they can still do good things and they are still human. So it's important to have that level of nuance about it, I think. The World Cup. Now, I had a lot of opinions about the people that were going over to support the World Cup in the USA. I didn't think it was a good idea to spend money on the US economy. I thought it was irresponsible, and I just kind of wished people would boycott the whole thing, but that was never going to happen. And lo and behold, it has been such a positive experience, especially the Scottish team. I have absolutely eaten up the memes about Scotland going over and putting traffic cones on everything, which is something that the Glaswegians do. I have loved how much the Bostonians had welcomed Scotland, and that kind of ripple effect into the whole event as being quite a positive force for bringing people together. It has gone more or less without a hitch, and I think that is something that really we needed. We needed it to go well. America for sure needed it to go well. And this is the thing, it's easy for me to almost assume that I know how things are going to go and that there's a right or wrong. And in reality, it's just a little bit more grey. So that was a great humbling experience for me to see this organised event go off really well, bring people together and create a little bit more joy and positivity in the world. Thank you so much for watching episode 2 of ricklerants. If you have any opinions, comments, ideas, drop them in the comment box below, or follow me at Rickle400 on Instagram, TikTok. I also have a free newsletter on Substack called The Rickleverse. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of... Dude, it always takes me a little while to get into it, and I'm good.